A door that decides whether you will live or die. If you choose wrong, you will die immediately. As for those who refuse to participate in the game, there is only one fate: death. One moment, the streets of Tokyo were bustling and noisy, and the next, everyone had disappeared. There were only 3 young men who had been staying in the house all day, standing there in bewilderment. They thought the whole world belonged to them, but did not know that they were caught up in an extremely dangerous, deadly game. Following the instructions on their phones, they went to the front of a school. There were several phones there, and each person picked one up. After picking up the device, it automatically recognized their faces to turn on. No signal, no apps. A registration notice for the 3 people suddenly appeared on the screen, with 2 minutes left until the game started. When everyone was still confused, a girl appeared and said that this was a game. Karube quickly asked her where the others were. The girl didn't answer. She took his employee card and threw it. It turned out that once you step into the arena, you can't get out again. At this time, a female student also walked in as instructed. At this moment, the countdown on the phone ended. The screen showed the name of this game, Life or Death. Then, a 3 of clubs card appeared on the screen. The suit of the card represents the type of game, and the number represents the difficulty. The rule of the game is that within a limited time, you must choose the correct door. Leaving this building is considered a success. The elevator door behind them suddenly opened. The quiet, experienced girl walked in first. The others were all new recruits and could only follow her. When the elevator door opened again, there was a square room in front of them with 2 doors. On one door, there was a picture of a very beautiful girl with the word life written on it. The other door had a picture of a skull with the word death written on it. The time limit was 2 minutes. Arisu asked the girl what would happen if they made the wrong choice. She did not answer, but said that the word life was written on the beautiful door, so that was probably the correct exit. The schoolgirl couldn't stand the tension anymore, and, without thinking, opened the life door. The experienced girl saw that the wrong answer had been chosen, and ran straight to the death door without any hesitation. Arisu and the others also followed. The moment they ran inside, the room behind them was engulfed in flames. The game didn't give them a chance to rest. The time limit for this room was 1 minute and 50 seconds. Arisu criticized the girl for pushing the schoolgirl to her death. But she argued back with a blank face. "You should be thanking me. I saved you guys." While they were arguing, only 1 minute remained. Arisu told her to go open the door, but she teased Arisu for not being worthy of a man. When Arisu heard that, he was provoked. He turned around and stood in front of the life door to show her what a man was like. He looked for a moment, then walked to the death door instead. He grabbed the door handle but didn't dare open it. Reality had shown that in the face of death, no one is fearless. At this time, the system reminded them that only 30 seconds were left. Suddenly, Karube bravely stepped forward, deciding to cover for his friend. He pushed open the death door. The odds of life and death were 50-50. He made the right choice. The time for the third room was 1 minute and 40 seconds. In other words, the time in each subsequent room was shortened by 10 seconds. Karube pointed at the girl. "Last time I opened the door. This time it's your turn." The girl who had been complacent just now was now panicked. Suddenly, Karube thought that if this was a game, there would be a way to beat it. And Arisu was a gaming genius. At this moment, Arisu was still panicking. Karube punched him in the face. This blow shocked Arisu, and the image of a car flashed through his brain. He mumbled, "BMW 523D. He calculated a bit and said the answer was the death door. In the last 5 seconds, he opened the door of death. Indeed, this was the correct answer. The time limit in room number 4 was 1 minute and 30 seconds. Karube hurriedly asked which door to choose. Arisu's mind shifted gears, saying the BMW 523D has a length of 4.94 meters and was parked in front of the arena. The height of this building was approximately 4 cars high, so it was about 20 meters tall. His foot was 28 centimeters long, and every 3 steps equaled 1 floor tile. He estimated that each tile is 1 meter long. 6 tiles meant this room was 6 meters long. When entering the elevator, he saw an emergency exit diagram next to it. It showed that this building was a square, and the room they were standing in was also square. Arisu drew a sketch of the building. The building was 20 meters long, and this room was 6 meters long. One floor had many square rooms, similar to a checkerboard. They started the game from the room on the left. After the schoolgirl died in that room, they went to the middle room, then to the top left room again. The way above was blocked, which meant they had to go down. The 2 rooms below were the intersection. They must go to the right, which was also the death door. Arisu's guess was indeed correct. For a moment, everyone had faith. In the 5th room, they chose the death door. Exactly right. In room number 6, they chose the life door. Still correct. As they were celebrating reaching the final room, Arisu's smile faltered. There should have been a door in front of him, but there was nothing on either side. Arisu looked at the checkerboard and remembered the escape plan. The room he was standing in was probably the far left corner of the building. If the way to win was to escape the building, then they should open the door to the outside. But this building had no gap from the adjacent building. In other words, opening the death door meant entering the building next door. Whoever designed this game wouldn't be so negligent. The life door led to the room where the student girl died, and it was clear it wasn't even accessible anymore. Arisu was certain that he had missed some important clue earlier. Suddenly, Arisu remembered that when he was in the first room, Chota had recorded a video. Arisu, sharp enough, saw that the room the student had opened had no door on the other side. This proved that the room she entered was a dead end. Perhaps behind the life door there was another room. There were only 5 seconds left. They didn't have time to think much and hastily pushed open the life door and ran in. Even though the answer was correct, Chota, who ran last, was injured by the fire. The time for this room was only 10 seconds. Arisu quickly opened the death door and they rushed out in the last moments. Opening the door, they found an emergency staircase. When they reached the first floor, a Game Clear notification was sent. The girl noticed a table in front of her. On it was a 3 of clubs card. As she picked it up, the phone's alarm rang again. It stated that those who survived the game would get a 3-day visa. While Arisu was still wondering, a man covered in wounds walked toward them. He shouted, "I want to get out of this game." A laser shot down from the sky, killing him instantly. At this point, the girl told them all that once the visa expired, they would die. If they wanted to live, they must continue participating in the games. Winning a game would grant extra time on their visa. In the middle of the dark city, red laser lights flashed brightly. Each ray of light represented a person whose mission had failed or whose visa had expired. The next day, Arisu realized he couldn't start his car. All devices with electrical circuits had lost their effectiveness. The pile of food in the convenience store was also there. It was clear that this game had started a long time ago. The girl, whose name was Shibuki, said that she had participated in a game where everyone else died and only she survived. Chota's injured leg became more and more painful. Karube looked at his friend. He called Arisu out. If they joined a game with Chota, he would be a burden. But he couldn't just abandon him, especially since his visa would expire. Karube invited Arisu to join a game together that night to learn the rules first. Then they could protect Chota in the next game. The city lights lit up again. Everywhere was an arena. The next game was waiting for them to join. This was a game of life and death. The loser would die on the spot. Those who intended to withdraw from the game would also be killed immediately. Usagi calmly entered the arena. Inside, there were many people waiting. They looked at her with extremely cautious eyes. Usagi didn't seem surprised at all. She took a phone from the table. At this time, Arisu and Karube also joined the game. The countdown ended. This time, there were a total of 13 players. The phone displayed a black 5 of spades. The symbols of the cards were not the same, which meant the type of game was also different. Spades were physical battles, clubs were team battles, and diamonds were intellectual battles. Hearts were the most difficult games, requiring psychological manipulation and betrayal of others to win. The phone rang again, showing this game was tag. The rule of the game was that the players must not let the it player catch them. At the same time, within 20 minutes, they must find a goal in a room in this apartment building. Touching the button in the goal was considered clearing the game. Otherwise, the time bomb in this building would automatically explode. The game would start in 2 minutes. Arisu and the others still underestimated this game and leisurely walked upstairs. The smartest one, Arisu, went to the 7th floor to get the best viewing angle. Others were hiding on different floors. The game officially began. After a series of noises, the elevator slowly rose and stopped on the 6th floor. At that time, the whole apartment building was silent. Only the it player's footsteps could be heard. Usagi sensed the it player was approaching and quickly climbed down from the hallway. As for Arisu's group on the 5th floor, they also started looking for the goal in each room. Just as they were about to go to the 6th floor, a man wearing a transparent shirt was the first to be caught by the it player. They stood at the landing of the stairs and looked up to see a tall man with a long face. The whole group was so scared that they ran away like crazy, straight downstairs. When running to the 3rd floor, Arisu pulled Karube back to hide in a recess in the wall. The horse-faced guy stopped for a moment and then went downstairs again. Another player ran down to the 1st floor, but couldn't escape death. The uncle wearing glasses witnessed this scene, screamed and tried to run out of the arena. In the end, he was killed on the spot. Arisu and Karube continued to search for the goal on the 3rd floor. A pair of sisters were running away at full speed on the 2nd floor. The horse-faced man leisurely followed behind. One girl carelessly fell to the ground. The other turned around to help, but also fell. She took off her high heels, intending to risk her life. But as soon as she saw the horse-faced man approaching, she was still scared and ran away. Arisu stood on the third floor, looking at the horse-faced guy on the floor below. He was thinking about whether there was any way when the horse-faced guy looked his way but then turned around and left. Suddenly, Arisu discovered the horse-faced guy's weakness. The mask he wore narrowed his vision, so he couldn't detect Arisu. This was also the key to passing this game. He quickly shouted, alerting everyone to the IT player's location and his weakness. At this time, the horse-faced guy had just come up from the fourth floor. Usagi on the fifth floor also used the same method to report the IT player's location to everyone. She signaled for another woman to run away quickly, but she was too slow, so Usagi left. Based on the layout of the building, Usagi quietly escaped to the sixth floor. At this point, there were only 8 minutes left in the game, and only 7 people were still alive. But the horse-faced guy, standing up high, could see the players on the lower levels easily. He continuously fired his gun. A player standing downstairs was so scared he shrank back. Arisu had to crawl over despite the danger and then lead the IT player away. Seeing time passing little by little, another player, Aguni, also started to act. He said that the IT player was human after all. As long as they could control his movements, they could quickly find the goal. The guy next to him picked up a fire extinguisher. Seeing that Karube was capable, he invited him to act together. They temporarily cooperated with each other. At this time, Usagi appeared and said that she had searched all the rooms on the 5th and 6th floor. Arisu's group had searched the 3rd and 4th floor. Usagi quickly climbed down to the 2nd floor to look for it. One player, Aguni, lured the IT player into the elevator. But another player hiding in the back didn't rush out in time and was killed. Karube was hiding at the elevator door. As soon as the IT player discovered him, the other guy rushed out from behind and sprayed the fire extinguisher. Taking this opportunity, Karube hit the IT player's head with a fire extinguisher. Aguni began to struggle with the horse-faced man, but was knocked down. The IT player then pulled out his super long sword. Karube nimbly dodged a few blows, but was still slashed. At that time, Aguni regained consciousness, leaned up, and kicked the IT player to the ground. Meanwhile, Arisu searched all the rooms on the 7th floor, but still could not find the goal. He was extremely desperate. Why did the horse-faced guy continuously shoot at a door on the 4th floor? Arisu kept looking and realized this. They guessed that room was the goal. But if this room was the goal, it was clear that the horse-faced man could defend the door. Why didn't he act? The remaining time was now 3 minutes, so he couldn't think much about it. He just had to fight hard. Sure enough, they guessed right, but only half right. There was still another IT player in the room. Arisu used an electric baton to knock him unconscious. But they were too careless. Arisu escaped out the door while the other player hid in the inner room. He realized this was the goal, but there were 2 buttons on the wall. They must press both buttons at the same time to succeed. Arisu quickly stood outside the window and shouted, "The goal is in room 406. It takes 2 people to cooperate to complete the mission." But Karube was injured. Aguni and the IT player were still struggling. The other IT player quickly opened the door of the goal room. Now there was only 1 last minute left. The IT player shot continuously at the other player in the room. Aguni also had his face slashed and started to lose control, continuously punching the IT player on the head. Now the only person they could look forward to was Usagi. With only 10 seconds left, Usagi jumped from a window. Arisu threw a rope to her, which she caught. Then the 2 people rushed up and pressed the 2 buttons at the same time. They cleared the game in the last second. The time bomb also stopped counting down. At this moment, the IT player woke up. She was the woman from earlier. Her face was panicked. The device on her neck kept making sounds and then exploded. It turned out the IT player was also a participant, but their role was the opposite. They had to win to live. The IT player who was fighting with Aguni was also blown up. Karube found a walkie-talkie on the player wearing the bandana. He could only hear something about the beach, and then it stopped. Arisu found a drawing on the dead IT player's body. This was a very important clue. Arisu sat outside the window, dumbfounded, feeling both horror and self-blame. Usagi sighed, saying that everyone was forced to participate in this game and that it wasn't anyone's fault. Arisu asked Usagi what this was all about. Usagi calmly said it was all just to survive, and then walked away. While they were participating in the game, Shibuki, the woman from the first game, had also started playing tricks with Chota. She wanted to take advantage of Chota's weakest moment to lure him into becoming her teammate. The 2 chatted for a while and then went to bed together. The next day, Karube thought that if they wanted to find out the truth, they had to go to the beach. But Chota's visa would expire tomorrow, so they had to play a game today to extend it. That night, the game venues lit up again. The next game was even more dangerous. They were preparing to participate in the game for the 3rd time. As soon as they entered the arena, they saw many hammers, axes, saws, knives, and all kinds of different tools on the table. Writing on a sign said they could be used as desired. Karube chose a knife first. Chota noticed that there were some high-tech helmets next to him. Each person took a phone to register for the game in advance. This venue was a botanical garden. They took turns putting on the helmets, and the screen displayed their portraits. They were also surprised to realize that when they looked into someone else's eyes, a red light would flash. While they were still guessing what kind of game this was, the phone announced, "Game type is Hearts. Difficulty level is 7. Arisu remembered what Usagi had said last time. Hearts require psychological manipulation and betraying others to win. This was surely the most dangerous game. Another notification appeared on the phone. This time the game was hide-and-seek. The rules of the game were that one person becomes a wolf, 3 people are sheep. The person caught by the wolf will become the new wolf. The sheep must hide and not be caught by the wolf. The time for this game is 15 minutes. In the end, only the wolf clears the game, the sheep's collars will explode. So that meant out of the 4 of them, only one would survive. Selected at random, the first wolf was Chota. The game began. Chota didn't want to hurt the others, so he tried to take the collar off. Arisu reminded him that the collar would probably explode immediately if tampered with. Finally, Chota looked at Arisu, and the wolf identity transferred to him. It turned out that as long as the sheep looks into the wolf's eyes, they take on the role of the wolf. Shibuki understood immediately. This is not the sheep hiding from the wolf, it's clear that the wolf is hiding from the sheep. While everyone still didn't understand anything, Shibuki decided to play dirty. She picked up a hammer and called out to the other 3. So Shibuki became the wolf. She ran like crazy into the botanical garden. Only then did the other 3 realize Shibuki intended to survive alone. Karube chased after her immediately. Shibuki, having lost all humanity, ran away. Karube kept chasing. Shibuki hid behind a tree, waiting for Karube to run past before she ran in the other direction. At this time, Chota also walked forward calmly. It was unclear if he was chasing Shibuki or Karube, but in the end, he was exhausted and fell to the ground, where he could only sit and cry. Shibuki kept running back and forth, carelessly tripping over a tree root. Just then, Karube also rushed over. He pulled Shibuki up, making her face him. Shibuki stubbornly lay on the ground. No matter what, she wouldn't turn back. Karube angrily swung down his knife, but the knife stuck firmly into the tree. Shibuki struggled to grab a stone and hit Karube in the waist. Shibuki then turned her head to look at Karube, transferring the wolf status to him in the blink of an eye. Chota, now the wolf, picked up the rock and repeatedly hit Karube. The pain made Karube unable to bear it any longer, and he knocked Shibuki to the ground. Just when Karube was about to finish off Shibuki, Arisu called him from afar. The wolf role was again transferred to Arisu. Was it true that in the face of life and death, Arisu would also break? Seeing that Arisu was the wolf, Shibuki grabbed the knife and chased after him. Karube suppressed the pain and ran after them. At this point, the remaining time was 10 minutes. Chota could only pray to a goddess, hoping a miracle would happen. But here, there was no goddess, there was only life or death. Very quickly, Shibuki ran in front of Arisu. Arisu told Shibuki to give him some time, surely he would think of a way to break the lock. Shibuki didn't believe him. She said that a useless person like him lived for nothing, and it was better to give that opportunity to her. At this time, Karube was also standing behind Arisu. He felt extremely distrustful of what he saw as Arisu's selfishness. Shibuki took the knife and rushed forward. Just then, Chota suddenly jumped down and pushed Shibuki down. "It's true, brother's loyalty is more important than girls," he said. He told Arisu to run quickly. But Karube, thinking his friend had betrayed them, picked up a knife from the ground and chased after Arisu. Arisu ran to a cave. He took out all kinds of tools from his pocket, picked up a screwdriver, and tried to open the necklace. But no matter how hard he rotated the collar, it wouldn't break at all. He tried everything. Finally, when he took out the pliers and was about to try cutting it, he suddenly thought about the woman who got blown up last time and felt afraid. In the end, he couldn't find a way to break the lock. He cried and apologized to Karube and Chota. They had vowed to be together in life and death. They were 3 unappreciated people who, even if they were seen as bad, would forget all their troubles as long as they were together. They had also dreamed of a bright future. But now, it was all gone. Arisu thought about the past, finally overcoming the fear in his heart. He decided to sacrifice himself. But he didn't expect that both Karube and Chota had also chosen to sacrifice themselves. Chota held Shibuki tightly, not letting her get up. Karube also intentionally let Arisu escape, not letting him find out. Only one person can live, so just give this chance to Arisu. They felt very at peace because of their strong brotherhood. Before dying, they were not in pain, but smiled. When the game's countdown ended, in the end, only Arisu survived. The next day, Usagi went hunting. On the way back, she saw Arisu lying on the ground. Arisu opened his eyes, but did not move at all, as if he had lost the will to survive. Usagi stepped forward and kicked him with her foot. He didn't react. Seeing that his spirit was gone, she went home to eat. On her way back from somewhere else, she saw Arisu still lying on the ground. In the end, she couldn't bear it and helped him get home. With Usagi's dedicated care, Arisu gradually came back to life. Usagi advised him, "When playing tag, you did not care about your own safety, reminding everyone of the IT player's location and weakness. If you quit the games now and wait until your visa expires, you'll die. But there will still be many people who die in the games. The purpose of playing those games now is not only to survive, but also to help more people have a chance to live. Hearing those words, Arisu finally found the will to live on. But the games they were about to face not only had all kinds of traps, but also fierce dangers. Every poker card represented a deadly game. Those who collected the entire deck would have the opportunity to return to the normal world. Arisu and Usagi continued to participate in their next game. The venue for this game was a large bus. When the two of them got into the car, there were already 3 men inside playing together. Arisu and Usagi each picked up a phone. The two groups looked into each other's eyes, understanding that the other person wasn't foolish. Kind-hearted Usagi noticed that one of the men was injured, but she was very cautious, because in the next game it was unknown if they were enemies or friends. At this time, the phone rang. Game type was Spades, difficulty level 4. As mentioned before, Spades are team matches. The name of the game was Distance. The rules of the game were that, within the time limit, they must overcome challenges and reach the finish line. Just reaching the finish line safely would be counted as clearing the game. The game starts. Playing time is 2 hours. The phone displays the number 0. They guessed that maybe its meaning was distance. The injured man, Takuma, suddenly panicked. He could barely stand up, let alone run. Iyamu kindly comforted him and then ran to the driver's seat. This was an old-style diesel bus from the 70s. Iyamu inserted the key and was about to start the car when he saw that it was out of fuel. Now all they could do was run. Takuma told them to run ahead. He would think of another way. After a while, 10 minutes had passed, but they didn't know how far they were from the finish line, so they had to run forward. By then, they had run 5,000 meters. Halfway, there was a water station. As soon as Shizuka grabbed some water, Iyamu stopped her, intending to let Arisu and the others be the guinea pigs first. Arisu, running behind, didn't think so much and picked it up to drink. Usagi believed that the water in this dispenser was undrinkable and should give him the bottle of water she brought with her. He drank a few gulps and still thirsty. The two people standing next to them were also thirsty. Arisu was very kind and let them drink together. It didn't feel right to Usagi, but it seemed the right thing to do. After drinking water, they continued on their way. This didn't seem like a spades game that required cooperation. It was more like a spades game that required physical strength. In the middle of the dark tunnel, Usagi seemed to see something. 2 streams of light appeared. Looking closely, they saw a very large leopard. It rushed towards them. All they could do was run frantically backwards. The leopard caught up with them very quickly. Iyamu quickly hid under a car, but the leopard discovered him immediately. In the end, the leopard could not pounce there and was forced to change targets. Arisu and Usagi hid behind the car, but the leopard climbed straight onto the roof of the car and found them. They ran like crazy again. Arisu opened the car door to block the leopard, but soon it jumped back onto the roof. Usagi saw that and quickly jumped over the roof of the car. The leopard continued to attack Arisu, who was in the car. Arisu closed the door, clamping its head. Seeing that he couldn't hold it for long, Usagi took a light from the car to distract them, and then they ran out the other door. But the leopard caught Shizuka right away. Everyone saw that and wanted to run out to help. Shizuka took a knife and stabbed the leopard hard, telling them to run quickly. They could only watch as she was dragged away by the wild animal. The remaining 3 people were still running forward. By then, they had run 8,000 meters. Arisu suddenly discovered something and stopped. He saw a Royal Enfield motorcycle. He remembered Chodo once said that mechanical devices without computer chips, such as record players, could still be used. That is, objects that did not rely on
complex electronics could still work. He checked this motorbike. It seemed to have no electrical equipment. He examined the vehicle and saw that it was a very rare old-style locomotive. It used a diesel engine. The bus also used this type of fuel. If they could bring the motorbike's fuel back, they could start the bus. Then they could save Takuma, who was stuck back there. Now the remaining time was 1 hour. Arisu told Usagi and Iyamu to run to the finish line, and he would push the motorbike back to the bus. When passing through the tunnel where the leopard appeared, they saw that both Shizuka and the leopard had died. Usagi and the others ran 12 kilometers, but still couldn't see the finish line. They ran a little further and saw that the end was in front of them. They weren't sure if this was the destination or not, so they could only temporarily wait for Arisu to arrive. The countdown time was only 15 minutes. Takuma sat on the bus, frightened and in tears. Arisu finally returned to the starting point. Iyamu took out a photo taken with his wife. "My baby will be born this fall," he said. Usagi reassured him that they would come back alive. Now there were only 5 minutes left. The two of them were still worried about whether Arisu would arrive in time. They barely heard a sound. Something was happening behind them. The iron plate behind them kept vibrating. The screws were being pushed out by very strong water pressure, forming powerful jets of water. They ran quickly backwards. At that time, the entire iron plate was pushed away by the water, and a flood flowed out. Iyamu was so tired that he couldn't run anymore and fell sprawling to the ground. The flood came up behind him. He picked up his wife's picture, and a moment later it was destroyed by the water. Usagi, who usually worked out every day, still persevered and continued running, but the speed of the flood was very fast. At this time, Arisu drove the bus towards them. In a dangerous moment, Arisu stood at the car door and stretched out his hand. Just as the water was about to wash Usagi away, Takuma turned the steering wheel. Usagi jumped up and grabbed Arisu's hand, and Arisu pulled her into the car. When they woke up, the car had been hit by water. Luckily, all three were okay. They climbed onto the car's body and suddenly saw very large letters on it. It turned out that the destination they were always trying to find was the starting point. The distance displayed on the phone was still 0. Now the phone showed a notification. Game cleared. They pulled each other out of the car. Takuma kept trudging forward. Arisu asked him where he was going, and he turned around and replied, "I don't know. If we're still alive, we can meet again in a game." In this world of deadly games, none of them were sure how long they would live. Karube had also told Arisu before that if he wanted to find the mastermind behind the games, he must go to a place called the beach. The two cyclists rode on a deserted road until dark. They couldn't find where the beach was, so they had to find a temporary place to spend the night. But the damned noise outside made it impossible for Arisu to sleep. Finally, invited into the tent by Usagi, he could sleep peacefully. But just like that, Arisu couldn't sleep anymore. To solve the food problem, Usagi also taught Arisu how to hunt. Not long after, they saw smoke from a fire in the distance. There was a group of people there who had participated in a game. Those people all wore the same locker keys, like the one Aguni from the tag game wore. Every corner of the city began a game, and the winners were the ones who wore the locker key in their hand. They were like a team. Arisu secretly followed and saw that they had an old car that started. When those people drove away, Arisu and Usagi also hurriedly followed. Sure enough, they saw a building glowing with lights. This was the beach. While they were observing, someone put a gun to the back of their heads. Then they were beaten until they fainted and taken away. When they woke up, they had been brought to the beach. This wasn't just a building, but more like an empire. Apparently, these were the people who collected the game cards. This was the game world's headquarters. As the city with the richest resources, the beach. The rulers of this place were divided into two factions. The idealist faction was led by Hatter. He had 3 powerful advisors. He was the one who made all the rules and was the supreme leader of the beach. There was also a fighting faction led by Aguni. Known as the strongest person on the beach, he faced a ferocious tiger without flinching. He aimed properly and then fired. When the tiger rushed forward, he gave it another blow to make it fall over. His subordinate, Takatora, was very knowledgeable about weapons. Faced with the tiger's attack, he finished it off with 1 blow. There was also Suguru, the armory manager, who took aim for the right shot. Arisu and Usagi were captured again. Aguni asked what their purpose was at the beach. Arisu replied that he just wanted to learn the truth about these games. At this moment, the Hatter entered. He was extremely liberal and agreed with Arisu's answer. He told his subordinates to push the door in front of them open. On the wall were playing cards. The cards marked were the games that had been cleared. The Hatter tells them that if they want to end this nightmare game, they must collect all the cards by clearing the game. Usagi asks if the world will return to the way it was when the entire deck is collected. The Hatter explains that the world will not be the same again. Only one chosen person is allowed to return to the real world. It is never possible for one person to get all the cards, so teams must be formed. Obviously, he is not the person behind this game, but just a player. Not only did he want to take Usagi and Ryo Arisu's cards, but he also wanted them to continue playing the game to help him get more cards. They couldn't refuse because their visas only had 1 day left before expiry, so they had to choose to play the game with them. Usagi asked again, "So that means if you collect all the cards, you will return to the real world?" The Hatter continued. He had even arrived before them and had also thoroughly investigated how the game operates. It's not that people in the real world disappeared, but that they got lost in a country. So they founded an organization. They use fuel to run the generator. They use rainwater as a water system. There are traces of weapons everywhere. Their spade goal is to collect all the cards. The Hatter also sets 3 rules for this world. First, you must wear a swimsuit at the beach. Then it will be impossible to hide a weapon on your person. Second, all of your cards are the property of the beach. He will preserve them. Those who contribute to collecting cards will be promoted. Everyone worked together to get the first person out of here. Based on rank, they use duplicate cards to choose the second and third person to leave the country. Everyone at the beach will one day be able to leave the country. Departing, as they say, is returning to the real world. But Ryo Arisu knew this was just a lot of nonsense. The last thing is that the traitor will face the death penalty. After he took Ryo Arisu's 7 of hearts, he was extremely excited. He said he would consider promoting him. Then he told them to enjoy the beach. As expected, the people here are happy like crazy, buying and singing as they please. Seeing Usagi wearing a conservative swimsuit, Ryo Arisu looked dumbfounded. Usagi shyly put on her jacket. They also carry locker keys in their hands. They arrived at the bar looking very lost. At this moment, a sound went off. Everyone gathered in the lobby. They kept shouting the Hatter's name, just like cheering for a beloved king. The Hatter simply lowered his hand and everyone was silent. Apparently he runs this place very well. Then he encouraged everyone's spirit. He told them to start because the time to join the game had come. They are like the soldiers of the beach, going out to defeat the enemy for the king. No one is afraid of death. Suntaro, hiding in a corner, also arrived at the beach along with Hikari, his new partner. It seemed they had their own plans. When everyone goes to play games, Ryo Arisu was led by An to an underground room. Based on the results of destroying the island, An will check to see if Ryo Arisu is suitable to be an organizational officer. Hikari also participated in this game, along with everyone, the person Ryo Arisu once saved, and several other players. So what kind of game will Ryo Arisu face this time? This is a game of life and death with 7 participants. Game type is Diamonds. Difficulty level is only 4. Previously, it was said that the Diamond suit is a battle of wits. The game this time is light bulbs. Light bulbs are installed in the room. The question is, of the 3 circuit breakers, A, B, and C, which one is the light switch? The first rule, of the 3 switches, A, B, and C, only one turns on the light. Rule number 2, while the door is open, push only one circuit breaker. When the door is closed, you can open as many circuit breakers as you want. Rule number 3, if there is someone in the room or the door is in an open state, the door will be locked and cannot be moved. All players only have one chance to answer. If you answer correctly which circuit breaker the light is on, it will be counted as clearing the puzzle. A row of super large water pipes will continuously release water into the room. If the water level rises to the wire, everyone will be electrocuted to death. There was a girl who wanted to try it, but as a result, she immediately panicked and asked to let her go in there first. They will take turns opening the circuit breaker, but once someone enters, the door will close. That means there will only be one chance to open the circuit breaker. Everyone continued. Then open circuit breaker A first. If the light is on, it's A. Otherwise, it's B or C. At least there is a 50% chance of survival. But now there are 6 lives. Can we only guess? The only person to look forward to is just that Ryo Arisu, who is very good at mind games. By this time, the water had risen up to their waists. Ryo Arisu observed the light bulb carefully. What could he think of? He told Hikari to close the door and then open circuit breaker A. But then I still don't see if the light is on. Everyone looked at Ryo Arisu. Everyone was suspicious. After a while, the water reached up to his shoulders. If you don't give an answer, everyone will die from electric shock. At that moment, Ryo Arisu told Hikari to open the door and push circuit breaker B. The light still doesn't light up. He shouted for
Hikari to try the light bulb. As soon as Hikari touched it, he immediately released it because it was too hot. Ryo Arisu immediately answered that the answer was A. At this time, the high-voltage machine also stops powering, and the water pipes also stopped draining. The phone rang. Congratulations, you've cleared the game. Turns out, Ryo Arisu recognized this as an incandescent lamp. If when turning on circuit breaker A, the light comes on, the light will radiate heat. If it doesn't light, the bulb will be cool. When turning on circuit breaker B, the light does not light up. So the answer is A or C. But the lamp radiates heat, so answer C is also eliminated. So the original 50% probability is raised to 100%. When the game ended, Ryo Arisu and Usagi went to the swimming pool to relax. Hikari took the initiative to start a conversation. Her purpose, of course, has another motive. At this time, Aguni brought his juniors, looking very scary. He saw Ryo Arisu and asked where his friend Kazube was. Looking at Ryo Arisu's eyes, you can understand that Kazube made a mistake while playing the game. Aguni is very disappointed. Yet useless people like Ryo Arisu survived. He glanced again at Usagi sitting next to him, suddenly became animalistic. He told the juniors to take Usagi away. Ryo Arisu immediately stood up to stop. When both sides were about to shed blood, the Hatter, the beachhead, appeared. He told Suguru to show respect and not to cause trouble with the newcomer. The Hatter asked Suguru, and he said this was an order from his superiors. Next, he asked Aguni again. Who do you think is your superior, Aguni? Is it you? Then the Hatter told Aguni to go away. They opened a meeting among officials. Ryo Arisu was also called in for an audit. He realized Suntaro was also an officer here. The meeting discussed the fact that face cards have not yet appeared. If we exclude these, only 10 cards have not been collected yet. But they investigated all 23 game arenas in Tokyo, and guessed that certain conditions were needed to force the 10 new cards to appear. The Hatter told them to intensify their investigation of the game arenas in Tokyo. You also have to pay attention to your visa time. His visa is about to expire. At this time, Kuina thought of a way to extend his visa. Chess is a game of psychological and emotional manipulation. If we bring useless people together, we will definitely win. She also mocked Ryo Arisu standing next to her. She said that with his IQ, he could still get the 7 of hearts, so of course they will win easily. But the Hatter doesn't like such tricks. He vowed that he would participate in the game. After the meeting, he told Ryo Arisu to stay alone. He explained to Ryo Arisu that before he came to this world, he was the owner of a brothel called Beach. Even though he is a gentleman, he always pursues power. In this game world, he also wants to become the most powerful person. The first person to leave here will definitely be him.
The next day, Ryo, Arisu, and Usagi began to discover more secrets about this world. It turns out that the beach people have already explored Tokyo. But once you leave Tokyo, it's a boundless jungle. You can't escape. There were people who crossed the border but were still eliminated by laser beams. Ryo Arisu was about to ask the other two girls. Unexpectedly, they ran away. Ryo Arisu stood at the turn. He saw some people from the militant side even disposing of a garbage truck. When they were gone, Ryo Arisu opened the trash to look. All are bodies. At this time, Suntaro and Hikari appeared. They told him this was the true face of the beach. Treason is punishable by death. Ryo Arisu's face turned white. Hikari told Ryo Arisu if he wants it to win all the games until he becomes the leader of the rankings, it is impossible. Suntaro was very pleased that Ryo Arisu wanted to invite him to join the group. He says there's a way to change the situation. Ryo Arisu agreed to the invitation. By evening, the Hatters were about to join the game. Outside the arena, gongs and drums were loudly heard. But the next day, everyone's eyes widened. The Hatter is dead. Hatter, the leader of the rankings, is dead. No one knows what happened. The officials decided to block the news to avoid disturbing the members of the beach. Kuzuryu, who is ranked second on the rankings, will take the top spot. But he was stopped by Suguru, who was carrying a gun. He wanted to recommend Aguni as leader. No one there raised their hand in approval. But under the threat of Takatora holding a sword and Suguru holding a gun, they were forced to comply. Aguni takes over all the cards in storage. The password for the storage location is written on a piece of paper inside the sealed letter. Only the leader can open it. Aguni opened the letter and glanced at it. His expression was a bit strange. Then he covered the envelope again. Next, the officials informed the beach members that the leader's seat has changed hands. Taking advantage of this moment, Suntaro let Ryo Arisu steal those cards. Ryo Arisu entered the luxurious room and found the safe in the closet. Suntaro tells Ryo Arisu the password is 8022. He never saw the code. But from Aguni's expression, Suntaro guessed that the paper looked slippery. The password is probably a mark left by the boss, 8022. Ryo Arisu entered the password, but it was incorrect. But at this time, the Aguni group suddenly appeared behind him. Suntaro sold out Ryo Arisu. This time, Ryo Arisu is dead. He was taken to a
Dark room, tied up all over. Suguru intended to let Ryo Arisu wait in this room until his visa expired. Usagi was also taken to another room. It turned out that Suntaro took advantage of Ryo Arisu's card shuffle to confuse Aguni. And right now, Aguni keeps looking at a picture. Surely the cards are hidden behind that picture. When Suguru was planning to change the game, the TV behind him suddenly lit up. The beach becomes an arena. The 10 of Hearts card has appeared. A young girl shouted in the dining hall, "There is still a murder weapon on him." At that time, everyone's phone rang. This is the most difficult game, 10 of Hearts. The game this time is called Witch Hunt. The witch, Momoka, is hiding among the beach members. Witches are not necessarily women. Find the witch and throw him into the fire. It's considered a win. The duration is 2 hours. Otherwise, everyone will lose their lives. Anne, who is a forensic doctor, came to examine the body. A girl standing behind asked, "Normally, Asahi and Momoka always go together. Why are they separate today? Could it be that Asahi is a witch?" Suguru also believed it. He ordered his juniors to throw Asahi into the fire. At that moment, Usagi and Quina stepped up to stop him. Now, there is no real evidence to prove that Asahi is the killer. People also failed to provide alibi evidence when the crime occurred, so everyone is a suspect. At this time, someone realized that the tissue Anne was holding was stained with blood. They pointed their fingers at Anne again. Anne explained immediately that this was the blood that got on her when she examined the body. She suspects that the Hatter was murdered. She also found bullets in the wound, exactly the same as the ammunition that the beach manages. So that means a member of the beach murdered the Hatter. There was an analytical girl. Maybe the Hatter and Momoka were both killed by the witch. The witch is the one on the militant side. The result is, it's Takatora. At this time, leader Aguni also appeared. Yet some people suspect they are witches. Then they will make everyone fail. Throw them into the fire. Suguru started shooting. The militant faction fights to slaughter everyone. Everyone immediately panicked and ran away. A member of the militant faction said that killing each other like this was the witch's plot. The result is, Usagi pulled Asahi away. She plans to go find Ryo Arisu. She also believes that Ryo Arisu will find a way to find the witch. Tata and another boy also ran over. They searched every room in the hotel, but were found by people from the militant faction. They rushed to fight with the boy. Tata also ran out to help and defeated 2 thugs. The boy accompanying him was hit by a bullet. Ahead, an assassin appeared. Tata rushed up to push her down and then gave her a strong blow. Suguru stood on a high floor playing a real-life version of PUBG. Each shot kills one person. The reason Suguru is so arrogant and vulgar is because he was once a poor person. Someone else hit him in the face with a ball and he lost his teeth, but he still had to smile, not daring to protest. Suddenly one day, Tokyo turned into a dead city. Thanks to Aguni, Suguru joined the militant side. This kind of honest person is worse than a bad person. But he met Suntaro. Don't mistake Suntaro for being careless. He is extremely skilled. He took out his homemade flamethrower and dealt with his opponent in a second. Through the surveillance screen, Hikari saw Anne looking for something in the office. She went to find Anne to see what the situation was. It turned out that Anne intended to use superglue to take fingerprints because it's very possible that the person who killed Momoka and the Hatter are the same person. It was at that moment that Takatora blocked the way. Hikari told Anne to go ahead. She would stay to deal with Takatora. This was an unfair battle. Takatora holds a long sword. As for Hikari, her top and bottom add up to less than 50 centimeters of fabric. But Hikari did not panic. She leaned over to avoid the slash and then laughed. She intended to use her bare hands to fight the sword. The two chased each other to the karaoke room. Takatora slashed a fatal blow. Hikari jumped up high. This posture is really beautiful. Takatora fights very viciously. He slashed again, severing a wire. Sparks flew. Next, he kicked Hikari away. At that time, the music in the nightclub kept blaring. Before the final battle, Takatora reveals his secret. He used to be a keyboard warrior who hid in a messy house like a pig, venting his anger online. Luckily, Tokyo turned into a deadly place with no laws. He reshaped himself, turning himself into a warrior. No one whispers about him, but he still hates this world. Seeing him consider himself handsome, Hikari laughed. She used to be a boy, but loved beauty, which made her father, who ran a martial arts studio, furious. But she still wanted to be herself. Her father disowned her. A few years later, she returned from Thailand, having become the beautiful girl she desired. But she practiced martial arts since childhood. Her father is a karate master. People who are self-taught and think they are experts like this guy, she can take 10 of them. Takatora played dirty. He broke several wine bottles, intending to stop Hikari, who was walking barefoot. Takatora took the offensive position again. After that, Hikari closed her eyes. She intended to use her breathing to feel the essence of martial arts. She dodged the slash and thrust her hand down with great strength. Takatora fell to the ground.
She had not forgotten the teachings of her late father. Right now, Ryo Arisu was tied up. He struggled and fell to the floor, then continuously rubbed his mouth against the floor, finally getting the gag off. At that time, Usagi also heard Ryo Arisu's cry for help. She found that room and was about to open the door, but it was locked. Now, the militants had chased her to the place. Usagi rushed into another room and opened the window. She jumped down to the balcony next door. Tada arrived promptly and pulled those two guys into the room, then took a chair and hit them. Meanwhile, Usagi jumped into the locked room where Ryo Arisu was through the window and finally saved him. Now, the only thing to do is wait for Ryo Arisu to solve the game. Ryo Arisu guesses that the witch's purpose is to cause the entire beach to tear itself apart. Usagi analyzed that if she were a witch, to avoid being caught while escaping, she would join the faction that is killing the players. So maybe the witch is a member of the militant side. But Ryo Arisu did not agree, because if that were the case, the militant faction would have slaughtered each other a long time ago, which doesn't fit the purpose of the game. Because the card game requires manipulating other people's psychology, not winning by quantity. Ryo Arisu suddenly understood. You should think from the perspective of a game creator, not a wizard. It wasn't long after the Hatter's death that Momoka was killed. This game is designed with precision. Tada recalls that 1 hour before the game started, he did pass through the lobby, and Momoka's body was not visible at that time. That means within that hour, someone moved Momoka to the lobby. But Ryo Arisu feels that this is not the point. The point is why the game starts after the Hatter is killed, causing the beach to fall into chaos. What is the purpose of the person behind the game? At the same time, An placed the weapon in the smoke from boiling water and died. Based on the light, she seemed to have found the answer. But when she was about to go tell everyone, she was knocked down by the militants. At this point, Ryo Arisu seemed to have guessed who the witch was. He walked into the lobby intending to tell everyone. When the incident happened, only he had an alibi because he was locked up by the militants. He wanted Aguni to cooperate with him to find the witch. But Aguni hit him again. Usagi rushed to stop him and was pushed to the ground. When Aguni was about to hit Ryo Arisu again, Usagi shouted, "He is so afraid that Ryo Arisu will say the answer. Then you are definitely the witch." Others also began to suspect and asked him if he was the witch. Who would have thought he would admit that he was the witch? Everyone pointed their guns at Aguni, but he was not afraid. Aguni put down his gun and stepped in front of their guns. "Shoot, shoot, quickly." Now Ryo Arisu shouted loudly, "Aguni is not a witch. But if Aguni does that, it will definitely cause chaos." Ryo Arisu guessed Aguni's intentions. It turns out that Aguni and the Hatter were once brothers. But when the Hatter lived his golden days, he became arrogant. The idea of collecting all the cards and being freed is a hoax. The Hatter just wanted to brainwash everyone into worshipping him in this world. Aguni blamed the Hatter for the disappearances. The Hatter thought that Aguni was a traitor. After exchanging a few words, the two men pulled out guns. Aguni survived and discovered that there were no bullets in the Hatter's gun. He actively sought liberation. So, Aguni assumed that the survivors killed the Hatter. He lost his brothers, so he wanted everyone with him. So who really is the witch? Ryo Arisu thinks that if the ultimate goal of the game creator is for everyone to die, then the only hypothesis that meets the conditions is that Momoka committed suicide, causing the remaining survivors to slaughter each other until none are left. While decoding the problem, Asahi suddenly said, revealing that he was the dealer. Hikari also helped him out to the lobby. The fingerprint on the knife belongs to Momoka. Their deaths are proof that someone is manipulating everything behind this world. At this time, Suguru was almost burned to death because he intended to take revenge on all the beach members. Finally, Aguni bravely rushed forward and Suguru rushed into the fire together with him. The injured Takatora was also swallowed by the flames. They successfully cleared the final game. The invitation card appears on the table. Now, Santaro has become the collector of all the cards. After everything ended, Ryo Arisu and Usagi watched the video Momoka left on her phone. It turns out that Momoka and Asahi are both helpers for the master of this game. They help design different types of games. They must not let anyone know their identity, otherwise they will be killed. They also discovered that their workplace was a secret room at a subway station. There are many employees who do the same job as them, designing all kinds of deadly games. In the end, they could not bear the condemnation of their conscience, so they recorded this video. So, Ryo Arisu and Usagi decided to go to that room to search. But when they got to the secret room, they found all the employees dead. Santaro and Hikari also made it here. Ryo Arisu asked Santaro how he got to this place. It turns out that Santaro found a sketch on a dealer's body in the second game. That's the location of this room. But now there are no clues. When they were thinking,
For a while, suddenly all the screens lit up. On them is a girl. The next game will start tomorrow at noon. The next day, in the sky of the city filled with fireworks, a giant jack-of-all-trades appeared. The more challenging game has begun. Season 1 comes to an end. In the next season, what challenges will the four people face? These young men are discussing something. Suddenly, a stream of bullets flew past. Before everyone could react, another girl was shot. What followed was no different from a mass slaughter. Santaro took a glance and realized this was an anti-tank rifle, so even hiding in the car won't work. The firing range of this gun is 1 kilometer. It's not known how many people there are on the enemy side. Seeing the rain of bullets getting closer and closer, the four people were forced to split up and run. But in the eyes of the opponent, this is just a real-life PUBG game. In less than 20 minutes, the people on the street were destroyed, with only a few survivors remaining. Luckily, all four of them are smart and hide beside a car. At this time, a hot air balloon flying over in the sky. What caught everyone's eyes was a giant king of spades. This means the second game has already begun. When Ryo Arisu was about to leave, he saw someone injured nearby, so he kindly ran to help. At that time, on the quiet street, a man wearing a mask appeared. The person leisurely walked towards them. That's right, he is the king of spades. When Ryo Arisu helped the other person into the car, he stopped breathing. Every day, the attacks become stronger and stronger. Whether they hide in place or change position, it is very dangerous. In a critical moment, Anne and Tada drove to arrive promptly. Usagi and Hikari climbed into the car. But when Santaro was about to climb up, a grenade rolled closer. Just like that, Santaro was forced to separate from everyone. In the car, Hikari kept complaining. If the game has really started, what are the rules? We haven't even registered yet. Usagi guessed whether it meant defeating the enemy. Ryo Arisu thinks that the only enemy is the king of spades. This is a battle of strength. He is the most difficult final boss. Behind them were 2 men and 2 women driving a car chasing them. They thought they could win the game. Unexpectedly, the king of spades quietly climbed into their car and quickly killed 4 people. Being alert, the king of spades drove to the side and opened fire immediately. They were beaten without having time to react. Tada stepped on the accelerator continuously, trying hard to swerve the steering wheel. The people in the car were made to sway left and right. Queena vomited yesterday's breakfast. Anne couldn't stand it anymore. Her long legs sat in the driver's seat. She put the gear in and accelerated. The speed was probably on par with a professional racer. Along the way, rescue firelight flashed. But even expert drivers sometimes fail. They accidentally crashed into a moving car. The car was hit and flipped upside down on the spot. Several people crawled out of the car in confusion. The king of spades started shooting again. Finally, several people jumped into a large building to escape the king of spades' pursuit.
On the second day, some people started discussing how to deal with it. The King of Spades' vehicle is constantly moving. The entire city is his game hall, which means running away is their only option. Ryo Arisu quickly thought of a way: participating in another game. Tada was a bit confused. Ryo Arisu explained that if he were the enemy, he would absolutely not interfere with other people's games, because if the games interfere with each other, it will cause a conflict. Finally, under Ryo Arisu's suggestion, 4 people went to the arena to play the King of Diamonds game. The challenge of the Diamonds game is teamwork. Everyone is naturally full of confidence. They didn't expect that Season 1's villain, Niragi, was not dead, and had also chosen to wear a game bracelet, which increases the difficulty of the game. After weighing the pros and cons, the 4 people still chose to continue participating in the game. What is Niragi's purpose? Can they pass smoothly? Next episode will introduce to everyone that this is a game of life and death. Those who fail will die on the spot. The game rules are very simple. Within 2 hours, the 2 teams compete for points. In the end, the team with the higher score will pass. Each team initially has 10,000 points. Before the game starts, the scores need to be divided among the team members. Scores can be divided arbitrarily, but each person must have at least 100 points. Each person's initial score in the game is extremely important. There are 3 ways to earn points: battles, props, and bases. If members of both teams choose to fight, they just need to touch the opponent. The person with the higher score wins. The winner gets 500 points from the loser. The scores of the 2 teams will change from here. Note that only during battle will you know your opponent's score. That is, fighting is conducted without knowing the score of both sides, so consider it a battle decided by the scores. You can also have multiple teammates fight one opponent. If 2 teammates come into contact with an opponent, they will compete by their total score, so they can win against an opponent that they cannot defeat alone. If they win, each person gets an average of 500 points. The second way to gain points is props. Among these countless containers are hidden 6 props. When touching props, you will receive additional bonus points. Next is the final way to
get the score, which is also the key that can turn the situation around: the base. Each person on both teams has 1 base. That's right, it's worth 10,000 points. So it's best to leave 1 team member on defense. When players touch their base, pay attention to a small detail. When players are fighting or changing bases, they will enter an invincible state. Points cannot be received or lost. If a player in an invincible state comes into contact with an opposing team member, the bracelet will release an extremely large amount of electricity, which may even cause people to lose consciousness. Once you touch your base, you can revive. Above are all the rules of the game. The game officially begins. How 5 people divide these 10,000 points is the key to winning the battle. Just when everyone was racking their brains, game genius Ryo Arisu came up with a way. Fast runners get low scores. The scores of people guarding the base try to be as low as possible. They divided into groups of 2 people. 1 person with a high score, 1 person with a low score. The benefit of a team is when you encounter an opponent who wants to fight, opponents can only see their total score. That is, the opponent will not know how many points each of them has. What they have to do now is quickly find the props hidden in the container to get extra bonus points. Soon, Usagi's team encountered an enemy. Their total score is 5,000 points. If 5 people share 10,000 points, it's unlikely someone has 5,000 points. Therefore, the choice to fight and win is very high. Who knew the opponent would see this situation and immediately run away on all 4s? The leading Kuina team found the first prop and successfully received 2,000 additional bonus points. But as soon as he received the points, he encountered Captain Kuma opposite him. His presence suddenly made the 2 of them panic. But looking at their current bracelets, they have a total of 6,900 points. Originally, the 2 of them were planning to join forces to fight. Unexpectedly, after being challenged by Kuma, Ryo Arisu chose to fight him alone. No one expected Ryo Arisu to win. It turned out that the Kuma team split the 10,000 points equally. There is no doubt that this is a fair strategy for opponents. Ryo Arisu is very confused. This is a battle of life and death, but for Kuma, he and his teammates are equal. They either live together or die together. Ryo Arisu also slowly realized that this was his opponent's strong point, because the challenge of the Diamonds game is team cooperation. The average score also greatly increases trust between team members. Next, Ryo Arisu relied on the team's strategy to win 2 more matches. The new game is intense. The Ryo Arisu team leads the Kuma team by 5,000 points. Everything is progressing very smoothly. They thought they were sure to win, but they never expected that Team Kuma actually targeted their base. Tata touched the base and got a huge score. They tried to advise their opponent to retreat, but they were determined to fight to the end. 4 people rushed to the base from 4 directions. Even when facing death, they were not afraid. In the end, the score certainly changed a lot. 3 opponents successfully touched the base. 1 person was stopped by Tata. Team Kuma turned defeat into victory and took the lead by 4,000 points.
At the same time, players with negative points will be killed on the spot. This strategy of Kuma team, although it is sacrificing a teammate, helps the remaining teammates have a higher chance of survival. This caused the Ryo Arisu team to fall into a deadlock once again. They needed to guard their base, but then they absolutely can't win. There's still 1 hour left in the game. To ensure their only chance to turn the situation around, they need to coordinate actions to limit combat and quickly find the remaining props. But the Kuma team had 3 people with more than 10,000 points, making their morale increase a lot. Not only were they able to find props first, they also won many battles. When Ryo Arisu found it difficult to find a prop, he could only watch as it was taken away. What surprised him even more was that all 4 opponents were looking for props, which means their base has no one guarding it. Turns out Kuma had already guessed that, in their current state, it would be unexpected and they wouldn't have the courage to attack their base. Because at the moment of life and death, everyone can only think about whether they can continue to live or not. This is human nature. Ryo Arisu was lectured once. There's only half an hour left in the game. Team Kuma leads by 12,000 points. Even if you find the final prop, it's only worth 2,500 points. Can everyone just wait to die? That's when everyone lost faith. Genius Ryo Arisu once again discovered a new way. That's right, it's when the opponent is in an invincible state after fighting. If 2 of them touch the opponent's base, they will receive 20,000 points, so it is possible to win this game. If it's a game of life and death, why not risk death? Before Ryo Arisu's declaration of self-sacrifice, they finally broke through the fear in their hearts and chose to attack their opponent's base. Team Kuma was certain of victory, with 4 people guarding the base. Getting points is not easy, but just being human is bound to have weaknesses. They used manipulation tactics. Usagi is good at running over obstacles and took advantage of the opponent's arrogant attitude to attract members of the opposing team to leave. The remaining 3 people launched a frontal attack on the opponent's base. But the opponent still has
3 people defending the base. What must be done to be successful? Kuna took the lead and moved forward, using her martial arts to lead the opponent out. Ryo Arisu deals head-on with Kuma. He took advantage of his invincible state, causing both of them to fall to the ground. At this time, Niragi came to battle and took advantage of the moment when the opponent is shielding to easily touch the opponent's base. They successfully received 10,000 points. Just 1 more person touching the opponent's base can turn the situation around. Niragi was elated. In an invincible state, he used the opponent's electricity to knock her down to create space beneficial for Kuna. Kuna rushed towards the base as fast as lightning, but at a crucial moment was kicked away by her opponent. However, their plan this time was perfect, but facing such a strong opponent, they were still seeming to be defeated. Currently, the Kuma team leads by 3,000 points. There are only 15 minutes left. The team members seem to be starting to despair. Even if you find a 2,500-point prop, you can't win in the end. Although it no longer makes much sense, Usagi still wanted to do her best and persevere until the end. Effort does not disappoint people. She successfully found the props. They are only 500 points behind the Kuma team. Ryo Arisu also couldn't be patient anymore. He felt like he should do something. Either way, it's death. Why not try your best before you die? Before leaving, he apologized to Tata, because Tata's optimism always lifted Ryo Arisu's spirit. But Niragi, with his twisted personality, doesn't think so. He felt like he couldn't live anyway, so why not have some fun before dying? This time, he turned his attention back to Usagi. Luckily, Ryo Arisu arrived in time to avoid an irreparable tragedy. Time passes bit by bit. Everyone lost the will to fight and chose to give up on life. Ryo Arisu went to find Kuma. He said his last wish was to be able to shake hands with Kuma, even though he knew that would start a battle and Ryo Arisu would definitely lose. Tata and Kuma agreed to that request. The 2 leaders of the 2 teams always make the other person enjoy this process. But it was unexpected. The moment 2 people shake hands, Ryo Arisu nevertheless won against his opponent. The team's score overturned the lead to a 500-point advantage. What is this all about? As it turned out, there were 7 minutes left in the game. Ryo Arisu discovered that Tata kept hitting the arm wearing the bracelet with an iron door. He is not afraid of death. He is thinking about the only way to win. Ryo Arisu secretly swapped bracelets with Tata before his turn, being able to use the identities of 2 people to fight. That way they could stay ahead of their opponents. In the real world, Tata is an auto repair worker. In an accident, a colleague unfortunately became disabled, which made him extremely guilty. His boss and colleagues also strongly dislike him. He was still not taken seriously by others. But Ryo Arisu's gratitude to him made him regain his confidence, so he decided to sacrifice himself for the greater good. Although Ryo Arisu was very reluctant, he finally agreed under Tata's determination. In the end, they successfully won the match so they could all survive. And the members of the losing team must bear all the punishment of the game. Unfortunately, Tata lost too much blood and eventually could not survive. It looks like a game of life and death, but it's actually revealing each person's nature. But in the next game, how will they face it? Next season, I will continue to introduce it to everyone. This is a game that challenges human nature the most. Each person has a necklace on their neck. There are 4 patterns on the back of the necklace. If you guess wrong, the necklace will immediately explode.
but you basically can't see your own. If you want to survive, you must find a trustworthy partner. The game will end when they find the Jack hidden among them. This also means that anyone can be the Jack. How to find a partner becomes the most difficult question. Mariko was quite smart and organized a small team. She had everyone on the team take turns confirming the pattern on their necklace. Sure enough, round 1 was over. Everyone walked out of the cell safely. But if the Jack doesn't have a chance to act, they will forever be locked in this game. Kuzuruyu carefully observed each person's actions. Seto was forced to say the pattern behind him. At this moment, Bonda stepped forward and told him it's a diamond. Quickly tell me, Scoot. Mariko saw how pitiful Seto was, so she invited him to join the small group. Round 2, Kizu exploded and died. Mariko suspects Seto is a traitor, so she colluded with other team members to cheat on his pattern. Your symbol is spades. It's the king of spades. Thank you very much. Unexpectedly, in round 3, Seto also exploded to death. But the game is not over. This proves that Seto is not the Jack. People began to slowly lose their reason. That woman, when we intend to trick that person, she objected. We eliminate her. Just like that, in round 4, that woman is also dead. But Mariko's actions caused Kyubi to no longer trust her group, so she secretly found another group to look at the patterns for her. It's a club. Thank you. Just a precaution. Kyubi did not have the confidence to trust the other group. Scoot. The result is tragedy. One by one, players are killed. This filled everyone's hearts with fear, even causing nausea. Oh, we eliminate him. That was a moment like that. He wanted to trick me.
We eliminate him. That woman is very dangerous. The mistrust between Kaneko and Maruko makes the other 2 team members very awkward. But when he turned around, he saw the scene of 2 people happily getting along. They were completely delighted, which increased the fear in his heart again. We kill them. The 2 of them go. Just like that, they cooperated with Maruko and Kaneko and, on the next round, killed both of them. In the end, neither of them had any way to trust the other, so they ended each other's lives. Kuzuryu's partner saw such despicable humanity and was completely devastated. In the end, he chose to commit suicide. Now there are only 5 people left. A pair of close friends have teamed up since the game started. If Kuzuryu doesn't find a new partner, the next round of the game, he is dead. In the canteen, he found Matsushita. Your partner, he is a murderer. What? I feel he is the Jack. But Matsushita didn't believe him at all and told him a fake pattern. It's a diamond. After returning, he still talked to Iwata. Her name is that name. I feel he is very suspicious. Kuzuryu then bumps into Amida again in the canteen and wants her to be his new partner. It's a heart, right? But Amida paid no attention to him. After taking a look, she quickly left. Now there are only 5 people left. This round, the Jack will definitely take action. King of Spades, you are a king. King of Spades. King of Spades. In the end, who is the Jack? Everyone can leave their answers below in the comments section. Game start time. 5 people entered the cell one after another. The worst off right now is Kuzuryu, who doesn't have a partner. But with his intelligence and understanding, he finally used the process of elimination. Juro's words were absolutely unbelievable, and Amida didn't pay attention to him. If I'm not a rook, I'm a... In the end, he couldn't help but listen to his own intuition. End time. The first person to come out of the cell was Juro. He was convinced that he had killed everyone, but he rejoiced too soon. They soon guessed that he was the Jack. How is that possible? When he and a murderer Iwata teamed up. I've seen you guys. Even though Juro's words convinced him, it's also impossible for someone to accept a stranger that quickly. Then Iwata also came out. Very few people interact with me like that. A person can confidently come into contact with such a killer definitely has a special identity, and this identity is the Jack. Juro is still in denial. At this time, Aioi also came out. He speculates that Juro and Amida were secretly communicating. I told her the actual symbol, but she's dead. That is to say, she is under the control of others. It turned out that Kuzuryu had already guessed it. Juro and Amida often go to get food at the same time. Furthermore, they always take the same type of food. That type of food has 4 flavors. They used the food items they took to confirm with each other whether the pattern was correct or not. It looks like a flawless strategy, but Kuzuryu soon recognized it. Then he let Amida tell Ayo the fake pattern, killing them all one by one. Juro asked when the 3 of them cooperated. This game announced its principle is to test the level of trust in others. We are just following this suggestion. The most reliable method of ensuring trust is not through advice, manipulation, or even control, nor through brainwashing, hypnosis, deception, or fear. It's equality. It turns out that Ayo and Iwata are both the type of people who pursue fairness, so they didn't make an appointment but became new partners. But they had already guessed that it was Juro, the Jack. The reason for not killing him in the game was because they wanted to get information related to this game world from him. The 2 of them dragged the Jack into the cell and proceeded in an unbearable way. In the end, the Jack could no longer bear the torture and chose to guess the wrong pattern and die.
The jack screen in the game hall also went dark. But what kind of game will they face in their next match? In the next episode, I will continue to introduce it to everyone. 17 people were somehow gathered in the game hall to join a game of life and death. The name of the game is Certain Death. The rule is very simple. The key is to escape before the hall collapses. They hadn't even waited to react yet when the ground began to tremble and crack. The game has started. The players could only frantically run away. When Usagi woke up from her coma, the entire hall had turned into ruins, and the game is not over. The ground is still shaking continuously. What's worse is that her left leg was pierced by concrete, and she was basically unable to move. Seeing the bodies around, she was extremely scared. If she didn't think of a way to leave here, she would lose her life quickly. For a weak girl, she had no other choice. She could only endure the pain and use her hands to pull out the rebar. After bandaging, she discovered a sewer pipe. This is probably the only way to escape. But when she climbed out of the sewer, she discovered that it was a dead end, and below is an abyss 10,000 feet deep. At the moment of her despair, her deceased mother gives her guidance. As expected, the water here is not hot. She survived. After successfully escaping from the hall, she woke up and walked into a treatment room. The wound has begun to change color. If not treated promptly, the
Wound will quickly become infected and she will die. At this time, a male doctor appeared. He told her if she wants to live, she has to cut off that leg. Then help me. You want me to help you for free? Do you need money? There's no use for money here either. Did you know? Okay, now quickly deal with this leg of mine. Switch scenes. While running away, the two were separated. In the woods, Arisu is in danger of being tackled by the King of Spades. Luckily, at the critical moment, someone came to the rescue. During the gun battle between the two sides, Arisu panicked and left, but when he wasn't paying attention, he fell into someone else's trap. When he woke up, he found out that the villain from last season, Suguru, had saved him. Usagi was now also with him, and Suguru's next goal is to think of a way to eliminate the King of Spades and return to the real world. This is a game of life and death. The game is called King. The rule is very simple. The King team and the Citizen team will fight each other. The game has a total of 16 rounds. Each team proceeds sequentially. When it's the King team's turn, a member of the King team will chase the members of the Citizen team. If the light button on the Citizen's back is pressed, the color will change from blue to red, which is also the color of the King team. Furthermore, any player who is captured cannot move for the remainder of the game. Starting from the next round, that person is forced to act as a member of the King team. But the King cannot be captured. When it was the Citizen team's turn, the roles change. Each round lasts 5 minutes. After the end of 16 rounds, the team with the most members will win. All members of the losing team will die, including the King. The King of Spades is definitely the king of the Citizen team. He is the weakest little boy on the team. Everyone took turns checking their backpack lanterns. The game officially begins. The first round was pursued by the King team. In the game hall, each player is doing their best to survive. Round 1 ends. There are 9 members of the King team left, so they have the absolute advantage. He is a member of the Citizen team, and definitely won't put any effort into helping the King team, so he will definitely be very cooperative. But a teammate he just found was brutally stopped by the King of Spades. Only then did the Arisu crowd realize the rules do not prohibit violence. It also means you can make players become members of your team by any method. Under the strong attack of the King team, they went to round 10. There are 14 members of the King team. The players' mentality also changed. When it was the Citizen team's turn to pursue, they no longer refused to return to the previous team. What's worse is that the membership is still constantly changing. Into round 13, the other players also reached a consensus. Supposed to die in another game. If only I could survive here. As long as they stay on the King's team, they can win the game and survive. But the King of Spades is even more greedy and still wants Arisu. That man is the type I like. The difficulty for the Citizen team increases. 17 people chase 2 people. Very quickly, the King of Spades found Arisu. At a critical moment, luckily Usagi appeared in time. So 2 girls are officially pitted against each other because of 1 boy. Usagi lost, but the King of Spades did not press her light because she wanted her to die for losing the game. Under Usagi's delay, they go to round 14. This round will be initiated by the Citizen team in pursuit. Usagi successfully attacked 3 members from behind. Now they still need to capture 5 more members to turn defeat into victory. But Usagi didn't immediately go after the other players. Instead, she used the remaining time to convince them. Finally, touched by her sincerity, everyone decides to win the game together and return to the real world. Very quickly, it was round 15. This is the King of Spades' last chase round. They are all aggressive. Seeing Arisu, he rushed forward with all his might. Fortunately, Arisu's reaction was quick enough. He grabbed a chain and jumped to the other side. Finally comes the final round. Usagi, with her quick stance, successfully caught 3 people. Under the cooperation of everyone, the Citizen team finally wins the game this time with a score of 19-1. Everyone survived. As for the King of Spades, he must be punished for failing the game. Goodbye. A drop of sulfuric acid fell on his hand. His hand was instantly burned and torn to pieces. They are participating in a game of life and death. Each person has a scale above their head. The scale is filled with sulfuric acid. As long as the game is failed, sulfuric acid will pour down and the player's body will be corroded. In the end, only a pile of burnt flesh remains. The game is called balance. The rule is very simple. Choose a number from 0 to 100. Then take the average of all the selected numbers and multiply by 0.8. The number closest to the answer will be the winner. Except for the winner, everyone else will have 1 point deducted. The game ends one round. If there is a player whose score is -10, then that player will game over. The person who finishes last will be the winner. Each time a player loses, a new rule will arise. First round of play. 5 people choose 30, 40, 29,
30, and 32, respectively. The average is 32.8. The winner, whose number is closest to the answer, is the first person. Through experience from round 1, people gradually understand the game more deeply. If everyone chose 40, then the average value is of course 40. Multiply by 0.8 is 32. If everyone makes the same hypothesis and chooses 32, the result multiplied by 0.8 is 25.6. As long as this type of situation happens, the results will continue to decrease. Even if everyone chooses the same number, then there will be no winner. Now I understand. We have to guess the number that everyone chooses, then guess the smallest number. This is more like a mind-reading game, a battle of psychological warfare. Like generals, international poker, and all mental games, you have to bet on guessing the opponent. But it's not just psychological guessing, but also facial guessing and logic. Kuzuryu carefully speculated. Kuma was definitely a lawyer before, because the hall of this game is the court. And these super big scales, all lives have equal value, also including Kuma himself. Hearing this, Nira suddenly burst into laughter. She believes that the scale is always tilted in favor of the side with more money. Not all lives have the same value. The second round of the game begins. The result last time was 26, so if multiplied by 0.8, wait, if everyone thinks like that, then I have to zoom out further. If everyone chooses 100, multiply by 0.8 is 80. Choosing 80 or higher is not interesting at all. If everyone chooses 80 or higher, then the largest average value is 80. Multiplied by 0.8 is 64. If the maximum average value is 64, multiplying by 0.8 is 51.2. 5 people choose 15, 21, 14, 16, and 17 respectively. The average value of round 2 is 16.6. Multiplied by 0.8 is 13.28. The winner closest to the answer is the first person. If we continue to rely on logical speculation like this, basically no one can beat Kuma. So in round 3, Kuzuryu directly chose 100. The mean value is 20.2. The winner closest to the answer becomes Nira. Because the more random the choices, the less anyone can guess the other person's guesses, the game just became more fair. The game goes very fast until the 10th round. The players also started to get more worried. I only have one more point left. If I do it wrong this time, I will die. I thought my strategy was flawless. What should I do? I cannot make even one mistake. If you follow logic, the number will get smaller and smaller. The results are still not unexpected. The winner of this round is still the top player. There are 2 players whose scores are down to -10. They're game over. The sulfuric acid on the balance becomes more and more full. A drop fell onto his hand. In an instant, the flesh was burned to the point of ulceration. No matter how much they struggled, they still couldn't escape the ending and turned into a pool of blood. Because 2 players lost the match, the following game will increase the rules by 2 more. Rule 1. If 2 or more people choose the same number, then their choice will be invalid and they will be deducted 1 point. Rule 2. If the winner guesses the correct answer, the losers will have 2 points deducted. After everyone thought carefully, in the end, they all chose the same number. But because everyone chooses the same answer, the choice is invalid. Each player is deducted 1 point. If it's like that next time, Kuzuryu will be game over. What will you choose next? In the 12th round, everyone takes turns choosing 62, 1, and 23. Kuzuryu chose correctly and was close to the number, becoming the winner of this round. Based on rule number 2 just increased, each loser will lose 2 points. Nira directly drops to -10. Isn't that right? Impossible. How is that possible? Did you see my choice? At the start of round 12, she was at -8 points. I'm -9 points. Even if she loses this round, she still has a chance. So she can be sure. He and I will invalidate both of our results, not for victory. So I guess she will randomly choose a number. What number do you think? If he and I make both of our answers invalid, she felt we would choose from the top 50 numbers. So she avoids choosing among the first 50 numbers. For example, if you want to run, of course you will want to run as far as possible. But even so, numbers between 90 and 100 are too extreme. It doesn't feel right either. So she didn't choose. The numbers she has seen the most in her life, numbers that can easily be thought of, are eliminated. So there are only 62 or 74 left. I can only speculate here. It just depends on luck. Nira extremely regretted not choosing 74, but it was all too late. Because there is one more person game over, a new rule is added. If someone chooses the same number, then the person who chooses 100 will be the winner. Now only Kuzuryu and Kuma remain. So whoever chooses the smaller number will win. That also means that if Kuma continues to choose, he is not sure to win. But luckily, thanks to this new rule, now all is fair. If either of you chooses the same number, then the other person who chooses 100 will win. Kuzuryu asked Kuma. He doesn't seem to pull it all to make things fair. What made you do that? Kuma used to be a lawyer. Because a company refused to pay the settlement costs, people died. Because they did not receive proper treatment. He tried to help that person get justice, but facing capitalist power. Kuma used to be a pediatrician who intended to perform surgery on a small child. During the process, he received arrangements from superiors asking him to do surgery on another child because they are the main sponsors. In the end, the baby passed away because he did not receive surgery in time. Kuzuryu is extremely affected because of this. This game seems to be designed just for them. In the end, what is fair? Into the 13th round, Kuzuryu clearly stated that he would choose 100. This made Kuma very surprised, because choosing like that means surrendering your life. Unless he chooses the same number. Recalling a game he participated in previously, he stopped because he didn't have enough strength. There was a young person who raised his hand to help. "Ignore me, go away, I cannot do that. When I joined the game before, I was saved by a young person. So now it's my turn to save others." Kuma's inner self changes. The result of this round is that they chose the same number. When it came to round 14, both people had -9 points. Kuma intentionally brought the scores back to be equal. The next round would decide who wins the game. Kuzuryu still chose number 100. Kuma started to feel conflicted. He remembered the girl from last season who wanted to save the character playing the role of a dealer and then ended her own life. Why should she do that? Because of my ideals. If my life will one day end here, then I want to end it for my ideals. After Kuma went through the final psychological struggle, he still chose the same number. As for losing the match, Kuma was very comfortable because he could finally decide how to live. But Kuzuryu felt like Kuma had won because Kuma's sacrifice also let someone else live. He put the pistol in his mouth. At the moment of pulling the trigger, he changed his mind again. "Do you think I will let you die comfortably? Be a bit realistic. Suffer extreme hardship and agony until you take your last breath." It turned out that they all had no idea why they were pulled into this game world, endlessly participating in games. The game of spades relies on physical strength to win. The game of clubs depends on team cooperation to win. There is also the most difficult game. The game of hearts relies on a strong mentality to win. Only those who pass the game can survive. But in the process of participating in the game, it has revealed many of the deepest human natures. Some people could not bear the cruel punishment and chose to kill themselves. As for those who want to return to the real world, they are all trying their best to win the game. After going through a series of life and death struggles, finally there are only 2 final games left. All players gathered in Shibuya. At the time when Ryo Arisu and Kuzuryu were discussing, they were found by the villain Suguru. His twisted mentality caused him to completely lose his humanity. He asked Ryo Arisu and Kuzuryu to play a real-life shooting game with him. Ryo Arisu and Kuzuryu, avoiding bullets, hid behind a car. Everyone tries to change the other person's point of view. While everyone was talking, Usagi also came here. "Oh my, I forgot about you." "Usagi, don't. She has nothing to do with this. Every game needs a female protagonist to make the game more exciting." "You are really crazy. If it weren't for you, the 3 of us could have become the same kind of people. I don't want to be alone anymore." Kuzuryu blocks a bullet meant for Usagi. He was inherently disappointed with this world, but after meeting Ryo Arisu and the others, he was completely touched by the kindness in their hearts. So, in the final twist, he decided to do what he wanted to do. They couldn't wait any longer. The King of Spades vehicle has flown to this side. Once again, he performed a shooting scene with real people. During the chaotic battle, they met Anne and Quina. "You guys decided to solve the King of Spades together?" But during the escape, Anne was unfortunately hit by a bullet. They thought the King of Spades would be destroyed like that, but they completely did not expect him to crawl out of the explosion, not injured at all. After removing the mask, there was a cold-faced mercenary. Usagi shot an arrow to attack secretly, but it was quickly repelled by his rain of bullets. In the end, some people hid under a building. Here they met Master Kuma. Although the King of Spades is very powerful, after all, he is a human being and cannot do everything. So the 6 people discussed the strategy well and decided to fight a battle to eradicate the King of Spades. But this is all the ammunition we have left. This was the grand finale of Alice in Borderland. The next game is croquet. The rules are very simple. Use a mallet and 2 balls. Be sure to follow the arranged order to hit these 2 balls through 6 wickets. Then, before the other participant completes the course, score the final goal. But winning or losing in the game is not important. The only requirement is to complete 3 games of croquet to be able to pass the game. If you escape during the process, then the game will end. Although Ryo Arisu has no experience, hitting balls in a game is still pretty easy. Anyway, there's no need to kill each other like before. But is this level really that simple? Mira quickly won the first game. After resting for a while, the two continued to play the second game. But Ryo Arisu discovered that she often hit the ball to the sideline, as if wanting to prolong the time. Usagi's leg kept bleeding. He became completely nervous. It was imperative to think of a way to quickly end the game, so he lifted his spirits and seriously hit each ball. Indeed, under his persistent efforts, he won the second game. Just one more game, then he could easily pass. But Mira now said she wanted to drink some water. The only way was to rest for a while. The calm look of Mira made Ryo Arisu feel very confused. After finishing this game, can we return to the real world? You'll know when it's over. But Ryo Arisu did not give up and used a plan to encourage Mira to tell the truth. It turns out that human intelligence is improving rapidly. In all fields of knowledge, there are new discoveries. 10 years from now, in the era in which everyone thinks they are living, avatars and virtual reality will become the main way of life, also for working and entertaining. 50 years later, all diseases, for example cancer and Alzheimer's disease, will both be cured using genetic technology. 100 years later, due to the development of air control and weather regulation technology, natural disasters will disappear. 200 years later, because we completely understand the mechanism of the brain, the transfer of memories and knowledge becomes a reality. 300 years later, people will not die from natural causes. The average lifespan is up to 300 years. 400 years later, we completely understand physics, and from there, understand all the cause and effect relationships. This is the world 1,000 years later. Actually, we are using virtual world technique to play this game. You fell into a deep sleep, so you forgot. You've journeyed through time to this world 1,000 years ago. This is our most popular game. Those quotes are all my own reasoning. Let's not waste any more words. Actually, because of genetic manipulation, large numbers of mutated plants appeared. The whole city was engulfed by vegetation. This city is surrounded by a series of mountains. They were all brought by aliens. They captured us humans, erasing our memories, forcing us to play these games, performing behavioral experiments on us. But among the people who were forced to play the game, there were rumors circulating. Because of a nuclear war, humans cannot continue to live on the Earth's surface. The wealthy elite live underground in fake memory, using trees and robots, making them play games on the surface of the Earth. Then the rich people will compete to see who wins and who loses. Robots? Are they really like that? Saying that, Usagi advised Ryo Arisu to stop listening to Mira. They just needed to play one more game. But Mira had firmly grasped Ryo Arisu's psychology. She knew that because his friends died in the game, his heart was full of guilt and he urgently wanted to know the truth. And then she told Ryo Arisu that this game's level was designed by her. Ryo Arisu suddenly exploded. He picked up a gun and wanted to kill Mira. Fortunately, Usagi promptly stopped him. If you kill Mira now, then you won't be able to complete the third game. This game can never end. After Mira saw her plot fail, she finally honestly told the truth. Actually, everything is a delusion in Ryo Arisu's brain. When he lost his precious friends, the excessive trauma led to memory loss. He is suffering from a serious mental illness, and I am your doctor. Ryo Arisu now finally remembered. Before that, the three of them were freely playing on the street. A good friend was hit by a car. His heart is full of guilt. He feels like he killed them. And everything stems from his family. While growing up, he lacked love. Therefore, he spent whole days immersed in games, going through life without any meaning. After being manipulated by Mira, Ryo Arisu was completely defeated. Mira took the opportunity to ask him to exit the game. In order to wake Ryo Arisu, Usagi used glass to cut her wrist. Until she fell into a coma, she finally pulled Ryo Arisu back. Because they participated in so many games together, they developed feelings for each other. For the sake of continuing to be by Usagi's side, he was motivated again. We continue. Let's play. Mira was touched by their sincerity, so she played the last game with Ryo Arisu. The game went smoothly. Great, we won! Mira, the same as all other citizens, must be punished for failing the game. All top players cleared the stage. Now the players who were lucky enough to survive have two options. One is to become a citizen of this land with permanent residency rights. The second is refusal. I refuse. I refuse. I refuse. Of course I accept. I also gratefully accept. I should still refuse. I refuse. I refuse the right of permanent residence. Me too. I refuse. It turns out that before they came to this world, they were all in the same place, which was Shibuya. Suddenly, a meteorite fell from the sky. After a few minutes, they all became victims of this disaster. At this time, Ryo Arisu woke up. In fact, the game was born in their moment of concussion. People with strong will to live will come back to life at the moment of death. In the real world, they have never met each other, but the moment they saw the other person, there seems to be an unspeakable sense of familiarity. Through the test of the game of life and death, they also found the meaning of life again. Could it really be just a dream? At the end of the movie, a Joker card appears. That is the end of the second season of Alice in Borderland. Thank you for watching the video. Do not forget to like and comment, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to receive the latest videos soon. See you all!
Again in the Season 3 recap will be soon uploaded.